Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Can you hear me?
Hey, how you doing, Sister Sheila?
Hey, hi. I'm so glad you could join us. And you look great. That's your phone?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if it was going to work or not. I was like, I hope it do. But it turned out good, you know what I'm saying? So I'm glad
Okay,
for
great.
that, that I could join you and, the camera's clear.
Listen,
So
I'm
I'm glad to
glad
be
you're
here.
here.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm glad you're
I'm glad to
here.
be here too.
We're gonna start the show. Um I don't we haven't started already, have we?
Well, it says that it's live already. It's been 3 minutes and some change already.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
what it
while we have a
says.
listening
Yeah.
audience. Okay, great. So listen, so what we're gonna do is I'm going to send you out for right now.
Okay.
Right, and I'm gonna bring you
Mm,
back because I want to address something um with
okay.
this here right now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask my tech help if they can. Fantastic, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I want to get right into this. Tonight's show is simply plain and simple, just about voter suppression, and one thing always leads to another. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for Kenneth Tut for joining us this evening.
Sheila, you know I go to the end of the earth for you. We good.
Okay. Okay. Listen, I'm not going to keep you long, but I do want to address something. So to the audience, thank you for joining us this evening. The first thing I want to address, because I want my friend Ken to be out of here. There was some rumors that was said, and I've been trained in terms of politics that any rumor or issue you leave untouched or unaddressed, that basically you admit that is true. So because someone said something that was very detrimental to my reputation, and it wouldn't have been a big deal, but in it happening, I've heard that this was not the first time that this issue was said. So I want to dead this immediately. And what better to do than go back to like what 10, 15 years ago and find who was a part of this entire thing. So listen, so
2014,
again,
Sheila. 2014.
2014. Thank you. And you got a
Yeah,
better memory.
2014.
Okay, so basically, Tut, what has occurred in still in the line of suppression? What they've done is, as usual, this is nothing odd for politics in the nation, trying to slander my name. So basically, there was an incident that took place with cameras and a child at a school that we both worked at. So I want you to just tell the listening audience what your recollection is of that event, and we'll just move forward from there.
Wow, I just remember me and you worked at Bellsburg Middle School
That's right.
for I think like 4 years. When I first met you, I just transferred from Irvington to
Right.
Newark,
Right.
and you one of the best people on my team. And
Thank
me and your husband was friends before you even married him. And I didn't even know that. But
you.
I didn't even know that. But I was new at the school from Irvington, and you were even though you was doing language arts, you would kind of help me with my lesson plans. Cause you give me a number and I kill it. But I'm bad at like the lesson plan stuff. But you would help me with that. But
Yeah.
I just knew all the kids loved you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I remember that particular year. I was just there, and they made me like the eighth grade advisor, right? And
Now this
we was
wasn't at Galesburg anymore. This was at Speedway.
that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm saying when I came to Speedway when we left Bellsburg,
Right.
and I was happy to know that you was at Speedway. I didn't even know you was at Speedway.
Right. I
And
remember.
right, and I was new there. You had been there a couple years before me, but anyway, I was the eighth grade advisor for like yearbooks and eighth grade year events. And anyway, a camera got stolen, and I was trying to do my due diligence because the principal was going down my neck, and then Sheila, so like listen, I know these kids a little better than you. She's like, Ted, I'm gonna find out who took that camera. And she did find out.
That's
And
right.
then one day she came to me and she said, "Tut, I'm not, and I don't ask me to remember the kids because I teach thousands of kids." But
Yeah,
she's like, "I know that kid," and she was like, "I'm gonna take him to the house and we're gonna bring the camera back." And she couldn't have been gone no more than 20 minutes, but
exactly.
she came back with the cameras. She
Exactly.
came back with the camera in about 20 minutes, and she was
Who,
right back
you
on
didn't even
her
know
phone.
the other one was with him.
Huh?
You didn't know the other camera was with him. You thought it was one camera, but
Oh,
he
that's why I said it was a couple cameras, is what I'm saying. I didn't know you even left.
right,
You
right.
just told me you was gonna get them back for me, and then like
I
one
didn't
lunch
want you
break,
to get in trouble.
huh?
I didn't want you to get in more trouble because that was that year that
Right,
Kenny Anderson.
yeah, because you know they was all breathing down my neck
Right,
for for
right,
some reason. I don't even know, but
right.
we won't even go there right now. But anyway,
But no, listen, that's all I wanted you to address, Tut. I know that you're busy. I'm not going to keep you because we have a lengthy show this evening. But is
yeah.
anything that you want to conclude? Feel free.
No, I'm just saying it was all help from you. You couldn't have been going no more than 20 minutes. You understand me? And it's all
Absolutely. Ab- okay.
and I appreciate it.
Listen, I appreciate you.
I told you I
Love you.
appreciate
And
it.
the next time, maybe I'll bring the mom
Anyway, I
on.
got a call coming in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tut, for coming on and joining us. So you guys were able to meet this evening. Mr. Kenneth Tut, like I said, like he said, we worked together for years. He had a situation with cameras, one camera that he thought was lost. Come to find out, the young man had both cameras. I'm thinking I'm doing a great thing bringing the cameras back to school, saving the entire 8th grade yearbook as well as the graduation photos. But it was a year that our community was being taken over by I want to say privatization, right? Under education reform with the then superintendent Cammie Anderson. So once that was done, that was done. But like I said, I wanted to just relieve myself of anybody. And I think it's really horrible for anybody to try to even insinuate that something negative happened because of that. So it did not. And to move right along and just to connect it to what we're talking about, just voter suppression, period, right? This city has a history, a wide history of being kind of governed by what a lot of us refer to as the 5 families, right? And we don't need to say those families' names because anybody who actually lives here, we know who predominantly those 5 families are. And it's like, it's like the governing shifts down to even their children, as we've seen in this recent election. But before we even get there, just on the point of voter suppression, people who live here, I want to introduce my next guest, which is Ra. I don't want. Yeah, I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Yes, it's Rob
Because I love
Khan.
your name.
That's it. Yeah.
What is it, Ra Khan?
Yes, it
That is
is.
the most incredible. Ra Khan. That is just so powerful. I love it.
Thank you.
Ra Khan is from. He's a native, also from Newark. He's going to be
Yes.
talking to us this evening, as well as Jessica. Jessica, would you like to come on with us? Part of what I do is I make sure that I have our younger generation, Ra Khan, and I'm gonna call you Ra.
Hmm.
But I make sure that
Yeah,
our
you call
younger,
me Rob. That's
yeah,
what
it's
people
part of the.
call me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so we're
Hmm.
going to dig right into, what voter oppression is, right? Or voter suppression is. And
Hmm.
it's really when things happen to make people not want to vote. And when you spread gossip and negative lies and rumors about candidates, right? Some people, it makes them like, you know what, this is why I don't want to deal with politics and this is why I don't want to vote. And they end up not voting, but that ends up hurting our community more than
Yeah.
helping our community at all. So we
Hmm.
want to dig right in. Ra Khan, I want you to tell me what inspired you to come on and be a part of the show this evening, and then I'm gonna go and tell them who you are, and I'm gonna go right into the subject matter for this evening.
Okay, well, my name is Rob Khan. I'm a Newark native. I was born a United Presbyterian in 1975. Um, Always been a supporter of the progress of Newark and Essex County as a whole, but Newark is the mecca. Um, I came on today because I look at the political base in Newark, and it has always had a history of corruption and stuff. Okay, I'm not pinpointing nobody. I ain't saying certain names. I'm just making a general statement of, ever since I was a kid, I was seeing the corruption and a lot of things that kind of halted the progress in Newark. So it has always made me concerned about, the reason why, as far as North wasn't moving forward, what I'm saying,
Right.
as a whole city, you know, um, I just feel like it just need new people in office, you know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you
And I
know,
agree.
yeah, and I'm a supporter of that. I'm a supporter of progress. I'm a supporter of the better change, the betterment of Newark.
Right.
So I'm gonna get behind that. You know what I'm saying? If I could be a vanguard for change or try to say something or try to add on with knowledge and understanding to be tangible to somebody's way of thinking to spark that change, so be it. That's what I'm here for. The history
Right.
of the corruption in Newark, like I was saying, certain things like back in the 80s when they was had a few projects that they had on the table. Renaissance Mall was one of them. That was back, I think, in the late 80s. They supposed to start it. They started the construction back in like I think 89, 90, and it was on Broad Street. Matter of fact, the location was over there where the Prudential Arena is at now. That's
Wow.
where the Renaissance Mall used to be when they started the construction. The construction started around 89. But the thing was is that the construction came to a halt. It stopped. They started the construction, but it never got completed. And it just sat there for a lot of years. Now the word, that was going around the city that there was some corruption involved and the funds were stolen, so they couldn't complete the construction of the Renaissance Mall. So it sat there incomplete for a lot of years. You know what
Wow.
I'm saying?
Wow.
That, and Newark was already getting a bad reputation, from other cities, other states. Newark was looked in a bad light already. Somebody that came to visit and they see that, and then they hear the story, it didn't help,
Right.
as far as the reputation was concerned about Newark and our whole, trying to come together to try to create some progress. A lot of people don't even know in the mid 80s they was going to build the world tallest building in Newark. They was talking about that. Yes, it was going to bring revenue with a help revitalize the city that a lot of people don't know. This was back in '86. They was talking about making the world tallest building in Newark, New Jersey back in '86.
Right.
But the politics involved. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
I don't know if money ain't being passed around to the right hands, then
Right.
it's nobody's gonna sign off on it.
Right.
You
So
know what I'm saying?
with that, we're going to segue into how all of that impacts the voter suppression
Yeah,
because with the money, right? The money is generated from the taxpayer. So the
that's right.
taxpayer should have a voice, right? It's called taxation representation. They kind of go hand in hand. But for
That's right.
whatever reason, not only is the taxpayer less with less power these days, right? In terms of decision making and especially in terms of how money is being appropriated in the city, right? But there's like an active thing that is happening to make people not want to vote, and that is what we're going to address tonight. And because there's several issues, and the first one I want to talk about is and I want to get your opinion on this too, for each
Mm.
of them, and I got around quite a few. We're going to go, like, it's 7:17, we're not going to go past 8, we might not go past 7:30, but we'll see how this goes. It's our show. So
Okay.
I put in petitions to run for mayor, and I personally had conversations with near each and every one of these 1,644 people. In fact, I turned in
Mm.
1,677 petitions. But now when they kick it back, they say it's because of, it's 400 people that it was unqualified. I thought
Mm.
that was outlandish. I thought, no way. I put in for an open request because that's the process to have a meeting whereas we can go over these unqualified petitions to see exactly what's going on. But the conflict of interest happens when we are submitting our petitions to an incumbent, right? A group of
Mm-hmm.
people. That's a conflict of interest who are already
Yeah.
there, already have an
Mm-hmm.
interest in staying there and not leaving. And they use rhetoric to manipulate the thought processes of the people who actually live here. Case in point, by saying, oh, we send the petitions to the county and the county looks them over. That is not what happens. Further
Mm.
investigation showed that when they just have set up a room at the county. It's actually against the law for the county to have anything to do with municipal elections. So even though they
Mm.
have a empty room that the city hall can come in and use if they want to,
Mm.
it, it's without oversight. It's without any type of supervision or governing. So they can come there and count them, or they can't. They can say that they did, but the fact is, it insinuates that there's a third neutral party involved when that's not the case. And
Mm.
you knew about the city before I even got involved in politics. Period. Were you aware of any situations like that at all?
Well, I never really knew the voting process in Newark. I was never involved in that
Right.
as far as that is concerned. I always felt like there was certain politicians that was appointed to office, you know, that was going to do the bidding for a certain class of people, which was not going to be the lower class of people. You know,
Mm,
the down, the lower class of people was not going to be the ones that was going to be favored as far as agendas being met. I always thought that whoever was the one who bankrolled that person or bankrolled the campaign is the one that was going to get their needs met, or the ones that was going to end up having their agenda met. You know what I'm saying? The lower class people, they was never a part of any plans as far as the progress is concerned. It was always going to be in favor of the ones that bankrolled the money, or the ones that was in a certain class, mostly the upper class people that was in Newark, the upper class and upper middle class. It was never going to be, they was never going to do the bidding for the lower class people of Newark. Especially the Newark natives. You see how certain areas is being flushed out now. You know what I'm saying? They
right.
would probably consider that urban renewal, but the lower class people is not included in that plan. You could clearly see that. You know what I mean? I think
Right.
that is to discourage them, trying to displace them, flushing out certain areas, what I mean, so they could leave the city, so they can make room for the people from out of town to come in. Probably mainly New Yorkers to be specific,
Right.
and I
And
think that
yeah, yeah.
and I don't understand, the voting process. I was taught, especially from the political science that I've learned, that the game that's being played is not voting in a politician, it's buying you a politician. That's
Oh,
pretty much I was taught as far as how politics really went. You know what I'm saying?
right.
You don't vote in a politician, you buy yourself a politician. You
So,
understand?
so with that being said, right, that's why, well, one of many reasons why I got involved in politics, because it seems like exactly what you said. You have to buy
Hmm.
yourself a politician. So I
Hmm.
felt that, well, my community doesn't have the money to buy a politician.
That's right.
Put myself
Hmm.
in position. I will train myself with everything that you need to know. I will arm myself with the knowledge that I need to be able to compete,
Hmm.
in this environment where my people can have, like, not what would you call this in law? What do you call it? The lawyers that you can just get in law, that you're not paying for, public defenders. Public
Public
defenders.
defenders, yep.
So it will be like a higher grade of public defender, right? So that we have somebody to
Hmm.
protect our needs and our wants, because if we might not have the money to do. And so I saw that in respect. I said that they were looking for money. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with the Wi-Fi, but I saw that they were looking for money, the money that comes with when somebody buys your candidate, right? And you have, and people don't look to see where the money is coming from, right? So this person have all of this. It's almost like Christmas in the community, right? All of these free gifts and trinkets are passed out, and people look forward to that. So so that became a problem, and I think that also was tied into voter suppression. So I want to just add on a few other things that I've seen in terms of oppressing the vote, and we'll move on from there. First of all, some reports of threats and evictions. Many of the seniors are reporting threats of evictions. You know, we've given you turkeys, we've given you water, and now we expect you to vote for us. And if we don't get the vote, or if we don't get your signature on this petition, you could be booted out. That is like insane that anybody would have the mindset to even put that type of pressure on seniors, right? But it's happening, right? It is quite a few things here. I just want to go over a couple, then I'm gonna, pass it back to you. And I think I'm not sure I'm on my right notes right here. I'm not sure. I gotta check back over my notes because it's just a lot of voter suppression going on, making people feel like their voice doesn't count. Blocking people, talk for real, just blocking people off the city website or the COVID reports. COVID was an issue, not just for Newark, but for the nation. And so when you block people because you don't like what they're saying, and mind you, again, it is a national debate, the mandates for whether or not people should take the vaccines. There's quantitative evidence on both sides. So why would you, as a leader, block people from sharing whatever their thoughts and concerns are? And these are not people who are being irate. And even if they were, there are a lot of people who, unfortunately, they don't always express themselves the best in urban communities. But it's up to leaders, like I've seen them do, to read past that to see what the gist of the matter is. And then that's what the leaders address, the gist of the matter. But I don't see that happening here, and I don't know if you have any place that you can, come from in your past that you can kind of, speak to that.
Well, I just, growing up, I didn't really see a lot of needs met for what was, as far as the lower class people in Newark too much. You know what I'm saying? When I was growing up, there were certain things done. I wasn't too much involved in the politics, but I didn't really see a lot of change. At that time, the direction that I felt that Newark should have been going. Well, we should have been by now. Because they was talking about progress back in the 80s and 90s when I was a teenager. You know what I mean? Going into my 20s. I think that the voter suppression is, those who have the power of media, have the power and the voice, to really dictate how the vote goes. If they trying to silence people, as the voice of the people, and that's countering the agenda they got in place, they're going to do anything to cause obstruction. To stop that voice from being heard, because that's the voice of the people. It's the voice of the underprivileged. You understand? If you got them in the forefront countering their agenda, and they like, oh, Newark is making progress, but then you got this voice like, no, it's not making progress. You know what I'm saying? They're not meeting the needs of the people that really need their help. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And
exactly.
One thing that I really have a disdain for is the selfishness, right, that exists between the classes. Like some people feel, well, that's not my problem. I got somewhere to stay. I got, and it's the most unmoral thing to me. But
it is.
everybody is not functioning off morals. I've come to learn in being a part of this political process. So with that being said, I want to go to four issues of voter suppression and just get any thoughts or comments or feedback that you may have. One, residents and walking into a curtain dictating votes while people are voting. Like there's literally people walking into the curtain with people, telling them who to vote for, and especially in cases where the voter may speak a different native tongue. You understand what I'm saying? So they'll go in and who to vote, and people are seeing this. People are witnessing this, but again, there's no, let me say, there's not sufficient voter oversight to make sure that this level of suppression is not happening. That's one. Another one, yelling names across the room. This is something that's brand new. I remember I voted all my life. You would go in, you would vote, you would leave. Now when you walk in, someone writes your name down and someone yells across the room, like, you know, Felicia Harris. And it's like the person is like, what is that about? Because voting is confidential. Voting is supposed to just be private. You're having this moment and then you leave. But now it's like, who are these people that's getting my name across the room? So again, it makes people feel uncomfortable. And what makes people feel uncomfortable? They tend not to want to be a part of it because politics can be, you know, a little precarious.
Yeah,
so that's
a lot of pressure. Yeah.
A lot of pressure. Another thing, only the current administrator's best friends, right? Take the machines from one site to the next. They're the ones who take the machines from the voting site to the county. Only them. Nobody unknown. And again, nobody neutral. And these are not things that you want to have to take place in a situation where you want people to feel comfortable coming out to vote. Also, let me see. It was one other thing. It was one other thing, but I'm gonna stop right there. I think because, like I said, my votes is a little bit in disarray, and forgive me just from getting petitions all day. I was on a live just for this one, but you kind of get those things right there. That it's just a feel of there's small thing. Oh, I know what the other thing was. On the petitions, at the bottom, it reads a line that says, you know, these petitions can, basically, I'm summarizing, can and will be read publicly by anybody upon request. So again, we have these things going on, right? These little moving parts that scream to people subliminally, don't vote, mind your business. And so we have a culture of, I'm minding my business. I see it on IG and Facebook all the time. I'm minding my business. My business is, I'm minding my business. I'm not worried about anybody else. I had a conversation today with a young lady who said, well, she's actually older than me, but she was saying how that she doesn't get into other people's business. And I said, but if your neighbor has a son that is potentially about to get hurt, you wouldn't get it. She's like, no, that's none of my business. See, that's not me. And actually it's happened. I've come home at times when I've seen, you know, incidents occurring in front of my house with my neighbor's kids, and I had to involve myself to save lives. So again, that same environmental thing, it's like no snitching. It's the same thing. Mind your business. So when you're minding your business, right, you're not helping your neighbor. It's enforcing separatism, right? It's definitely anti coming together. So how do we fight the voter suppression when we need to be together on this? This is something that we need to be together on. But I'm sure so many people feel I'm not running for office. That's why I don't run. That's why I don't vote, because some people don't want to vote anyway. What do you have to say, you know, to those people or on those issues of voter suppression?
I mean, you're gonna have to make as far as people being, you have to start to instill, you know, that motivation and that confidence to want to vote again. You know, there's a lot of people that has been in Newark for years and, you know, voted and nothing has changed. You know, we had different politicians in office and nothing's changed. And especially when you're talking about if they're going to vote and somebody is going in the curtain with them, telling them who to vote for. That's a form of intimidation. That's a form of bullying, and
Right.
that could discourage somebody. You know what I'm saying? That's like me going and I'm putting money on the Bengals, but somebody tell me, hey, you better vote for the Rams or else, or
Right.
making them feel or making them discouraged to really make that choice that they wanna, vote in their vote for their own interests or vote for the interests of the people. You
Right.
understand?
Right. Right.
And in the vote is suppression is also voting manipulation because you're manipulating me. You know what I'm saying? The vote, or you speaking in another language. You know what I'm saying? Acting like, okay, I'm helping you vote for who you want to vote for, but really I'm helping you. Well, really, making you vote for who I want you to vote for. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Absolutely.
just the, these are gangster tactics that's being used. You
Right.
understand? I can't put it any plainer than that. You know what I'm saying? This is gangsterism. You know what I'm saying? To a certain degree, you know what I'm saying? By these tactics they're using. You're doing voter manipulation, and then you're able to take the voting machines, you know what I'm saying, from the administration that's already in office. They get to handle that. You know what I'm saying? If they want to you not count votes, they can do that. They have the power to do that. That's too much power. So
Too
it's
much.
not a exactly. It's not a fair game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You
And
know?
this is another thing, just on the issue of it being fair. We're still trying to figure out, right, in the city, how is it that the petitions went up from 1250 to 1644 for mayor. 1644 petitions. Now, mind you, during a
Yeah.
pandemic,
Yeah.
during freezing winter when it's been like 14 degrees outside,
Yeah. Yeah.
during all of this that's been going on, and you have to get 1644. And mind you, the governor only had to get 800 petitions for the entire state. For
Mm.
the entire state. But in
Wow.
just one state, you had to get 1640. That's more than double what the governor needed for the entire state. And not only that, the
Mm.
governor was able to make sure that those petitions were made electronic. So we couldn't have electronic petitions. We have to get them freezing over
Mm.
double what he got, right? And
Yeah.
then and it gets better. Oh, the voter suppression doesn't stop there. They closed down the buildings, not because of COVID, not because of the pandemic at
Oh
all.
no.
They closed down the buildings after the petitions came out, and they just said no visitors. Now, mind you, the seniors were forced in the building to get the vaccine. So
Mm.
you didn't close it for their safety. You know you didn't. And we saw the memo. It had nothing about that on it. But
Mm.
what did happen was they
Mm.
closed the building for no reason. They just said no visitors, but they sent in teams in every building to make sure that they got their petitions. And so by the time the buildings opened back up, it didn't matter if you got petitions from those people because they wouldn't count, because whoever submits them first,
Mm.
that's who counts. And
That's
it
who
gets
counts.
better. It gets
Yeah.
better.
Mm.
You can't even use the media, right? Because there's a monopoly on media.
That's
I
right.
remember the first time I got an article, it was from I want to say Steve Autobotto Jr. did an article that I was running for mayor. So
Mm.
another means of suppression. You don't even get to know the candidates that are running unless you
Yeah.
create your own platform somehow.
Mm.
And how do you
Yeah.
do that? All of these things require creativity. It requires working together. But in the West Ward, for example, there's
Mm.
nowhere that you can come together and just have a conversation about sports, a
Conversation.
conversation about I mean, and you have a cigar bar, but everyone doesn't go to a cigar bar. I'm just saying a
Yeah.
place that you can come in, like a recreational place or somewhere comfortable that you can go in. Like that, it exists in other towns that you can go in,
Yeah.
have a conversation about politics. Because guess what? In the schools, you can't have conversations about politics. You can bring candidates in there, but those
Mm.
voting machines come in. They want the
Yeah.
parents to vote, but they don't want the parents to be aware of who it is
Yeah.
that's running. So that's a big issue. I don't know, if you
Yeah.
recall that.
It gives leverage to the one who's already in office. You understand what I'm
Right,
saying? Because the campaign of the candidates that's running against that politician, it's hard to get notoriety if you don't really have the platform or you're not getting the media coverage that you need, so it can be more of a competitive race. You know what I'm saying? So It's just all the things that's in place really goes against any candidate that's going against a politician that's already in office. And I don't know how that could change because it just seems like the whole voting process in these elections are rigged. They look rigged, you know? And because of that, like I said, the one
Right.
who has the bread, the ones who's bankrolling this politician that's been in office, the upper class, like I said, he's going to do the bidding for them. And then the unfortunate people, the lower class people get ignored. You know what I'm saying? And it's a shame because I was talking to a brother, about that transit village that's getting built over there on Broad Street, over there where the Bear
Right.
Stadium was at. And I was like, those are luxury apartments. I was like, the average Norker can't afford that. He like, well, either you're gonna have to, find a way to get the money or get out. It was very cold. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, the lower class Norkers, if they can't adjust to the direction Nork is going, then that's just on them. You know what I'm saying? Where now it's like you have these different people that's in different economic classes, you know what I'm saying, that's in the upper economic class, not caring about the people that's in the lower economic class. He's pretty much saying, well, if they can't afford it, just get out of North. You know what I'm saying? And this is what you're
Yes.
doing. You're dealing with this type of mentality,
And
and
it's
this is what's, yeah. It is sad because it's countering, what I'm saying, the people that do care about, the underprivileged, the impoverished. You see what
right.
I'm saying? They acting like they a burden, and they really not a burden. They are the
Right.
face of Newark. You know what I'm saying? These are these are the voices that's not being heard. You know what I'm saying? But just that attitude alone is muting their voices even more. You understand? And then here you have somebody who is, who want to be a politician, to be a voice and an advocate for the unfortunate people. You know what I'm saying? And then you're going to do everything in your power to try to suppress them or stop them from getting in office because you down with the agenda of, the upper class that want to take over Newark and push Newark in a totally different direction.
Right. Right. and
You
and and
know?
it's just so disparaging. And when I'm talking to people, people are of the mindset, oh, I'll just help you, underground, I'll just help you, behind closed doors. So you really don't even
Yeah,
get an opportunity, right, to help people how you want to help, or be a part of a campaign and have that wonderful experience as it should be. But it
that
is
should be.
so about the, like you said earlier, it's so about the gangsterdom here. It's so about the
Yeah,
bullying and the
yeah,
manipulation, that if you
yeah.
actually run for office, I'm sorry, there's no way that you should lose your job because you're
That's right.
exercising a democratic right. That's
That's
insane.
right.
I
Yeah,
literally had someone to call my job where I was working, not even in this city, I was working in Irvington,
yeah. Hmm.
make a phone call. And as a teacher, I never received an evaluation. I just started getting attacked, and I'm like, okay, what is this? Kinda,
Yeah,
but I kind of, knew it was from the politic that I was involved in Newark. But again, nobody should do that. I just personally feel that there should be no person of color going after no other person of color. I don't care if you don't want
yeah.
people running against you in a campaign. Again, this is your right,
That's
right?
right.
Only for, and this is a person, right, that we're talking about, who ran for office for 20 years against Sharp James. Right or
Yeah,
wrong? We all
that's right.
are into
Yeah,
that. And was able to be
yeah,
a teacher full time.
yeah, yeah.
But yet and still, when you're in power, you
Mm.
don't reciprocate that same courtesy or respect, to your
No.
other, African American sisters and brothers, because that's deep. And
Yeah, it
this is
is.
not about just all the citizens in Newark, because it is, but at the same time, it just cuts a little bit more deeper when you know the struggles that we share in common, and you're
That's
still
right.
willing, to put your own personal greed and just being unfair, and also with the voter suppression and being unfair. It also inclusive of, let's not forget, not only was the buildings closed down,
Mm,
closing down the stores, didn't want us in
mm,
any of the stores. I literally
mm.
got calls from being in Dunkin' Donuts. A gentleman came out downtown Broughton Market, like, "Oh, I have to feed my family. You can't be here." What kind of phone call did that man receive? Another,
Receive, yeah.
yeah, Four Seasons, a very
Yeah,
huge,
intimidation, yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
spot, in the Central Ward. They got a
Yeah.
phone call. "Oh, you can't be here doing this." I was at ShopRite one day. "Oh, you can't be here doing
Mm.
this." What is this? Solicitation. I'm not selling anything. It is your natural right, right? And it's not against any type of laws to have people sign a petition for you. But again, if you use those bully tactics, right? And it
Yeah.
doesn't stop there. Let's take the building up on Sanford in the West Ward.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the name, but it's privately owned. Even the private building owners know we only let the incumbents into the building. Oh, and it gets better. It doesn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
The churches, the
Yeah.
churches on it. The churches won't allow their congregation to fairly meet other candidates that are running. So you have an entire uh conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you do. Yeah, it is. And like the churches and these places of business has been incentivized to, ignore other candidates. You know what I'm
right,
saying? They have to follow instruction. That's the
right.
downside about it. And because of these bullying tactics, they scared. You know what I'm saying? And it's a shame
So
that
how do we mhm.
yeah, I ain't hear you. What you say? I'm sorry. As far as moving
Oh yeah, I'm
forward,
sorry. I was
mm,
yeah. I mean, because even with the organizations, like I said, it's an entire conspiracy. Even if you look at the
yeah,
different organizations in the community, they shun people who are not the current administration. And I
yeah,
just think that there's no way that we can show any significant progress, right? We hear James Baldwin and snippets of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X talking about situations of social justice, situations with education, unemployment, police
hmm,
brutality, and these situations have not changed, not
yeah. It's
one,
true.
not
Yeah,
one bit. And you have
yeah.
people in office that was in office when I was a baby,
That's right.
and
Yeah,
and and,
and they still
and
in office.
yeah,
Yeah,
and God bless them, not to say anything personally about them, but when they pass away, it's almost like it's a dynasty that their children
yeah.
and their family
Yes,
only has to
they
be in.
get the seat. Yep.
And this is not how it's supposed to be. But when you
No.
call, I'm not going to say any names. I don't want to be, when you call groups that's supposed to address it, organizations are in place to address this type of thing. They want to be in, right? So they're
Yeah.
not going to address it either. And even if you call the police, there are so many instances where the police, and not all of them,
Yeah.
factions of the police are made privy and involved, right, on the conspiracy to get done
Yeah.
whatever needs to be done. If this
They
candidate
do.
needs to get pulled over for some reason, or if this candidate needs to get locked up under fictitious purpose.
Mm,
And it's like, wow,
yeah.
you
It's a
know,
lot. You know what I'm saying? When you see a lot of these major cities, you think it's a democracy, but really it's an oligarchy. You know what I'm saying? It's a small percentage of ones that's the power structure of the city. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, there's like these family dynasties of, in politics, and it get passed down to the child after, the parent pass on. It's a tight knit thing going on. You know what I'm saying? You have an oligarchy, so you have a small percentage that been running the city, and it's a bloodline thing. It's not about what you know, it's who you know. You know what I mean? And if you ain't really tied into them circles, what I mean, it's going to be hard to get in these positions where you can make change for the city, you know what I'm saying, or be a voice for the underprivileged or the ones that's unfortunate, and a lot of people don't know that. When you understand the politics is really, what I'm saying, a small group, and it's always been like that. It has never really been a fair type of system where you can compete fairly and everything is done on a fair basis where, what I'm saying, you can
right,
the process is fair. You know what I'm saying? So you have, like I said, you have oligarchies where you have people that been the power structure in these cities. You know what I'm saying? So like it's so tight knit. It's, you know, they're getting appointed. People are not getting voted in. People are
Right,
getting appointed into these seats. You
right.
understand?
And you know, and that's a perfect point that you made, because I'm sure that you are aware that
Mhm.
Newark had a huge water issue going on, and
Yeah. Yep.
being compared to Flint, Michigan, I
Flint,
even
Michigan.
yeah, I had water activists come here to help us force accountability in the city. And you know what was surprising to me when you talk about those appointments? It was a gentleman who had just came home from prison, and I'm all for second chances, but you're dealing with a water situation of
Yeah.
contamination that's being compared to Flint. And I mean, we're right here with NJIT. Why can't we
Yeah.
get
Right
somebody
there on
who
High Street. Yeah.
knows what's
Hmm.
not your man's that you want to put on to get a paycheck? And that's exactly what happened. They put that guy in
Mm.
charge. And again, nothing personal against him. He could be the
Yeah.
nicest
Yeah.
person. And that's another
Yeah.
thing too. I even resent how they make business matters emotional, and they make it into, oh, you just don't like. I don't even know this guy. What I know is he was qualified to do the job that took Flint, Michigan water activists to come
Yeah.
here, teach us about what they did and how they was able to force accountability. We needed to collaborate because none of us know
Yeah.
everything. And to just take somebody just because of a relationship and say, you know, you just came home from prison and we're going to put you in this director position to make sure you get a paycheck. And we see that over and over again, even with the people who are chosen to or appointed to run on the slate. These are not people who are well versed in politics or budgets
Politics.
or
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
not at all. But it's
Hmm.
well, that's my man's.
Yeah. And that's
And
the
again,
thing is, you want
yeah,
somebody to get the job done. You don't want to deal with somebody just because, yo, that's my man. He needs some a job placement. Let me put him on. And you dealing with something that's serious. You know what I'm saying? You know,
right,
you talking about contaminated water at the level of Flint. You want somebody to come in and be able to find a solution to that resolve. You know what I mean? Not sit there and put somebody, you know, in that position and they don't know what they're doing. That is very vital. You know what I mean?
right.
Critical to the city. You know what I mean? So I understand that. And like I said, you know, is the politics is a lot of corruption in it. You know what I'm saying?
So much corruption, and I don't see, like I said, and it's coming from people who they know the history.
That's right.
They know the
Yeah.
history,
Yeah.
and you're still advocating for corruption. You're still advocating for the hurting of other people, right, at your hands, because right, everybody wants to be in charge, but it takes a level of empathy to be in charge. It takes a level of understanding and comprehension that people are different. Everyone's
That's
not the
right.
same. And just because somebody is different from you don't mean they're bad. You know, I'm
Yeah.
watching on Netflix this movie really quick, right, called
Hmm.
Last Kingdom. And
Hmm.
this guy has bent over backwards to do everything for the king. And no matter what he does, this guy just never trusts him, you know,
Yeah.
because the guy is great, but the guy has
Yeah.
no ambition to be great in that way. He just wants to serve his king. But sometimes people could be so insecure, right?
Yeah.
They
Yep.
mess it up for themselves. They cut off their nose to spite their face. And I think
That's
that
it.
that is, you know, indicative of what we're seeing in Newark. But just to get back to, because you're such a wealth of knowledge, I just want
All
you
right.
to
Thank you.
share, you know, and thank you again for coming on this show,
Oh yeah,
because
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I
Thank
talk
you
to
for
you,
having me.
you just shut me down, and that ain't easy to do. And not shut me down in a negative way, but
I know what you're saying.
you
Yeah.
make me pause and listen to you. And I just
Mm-hmm.
want you to share some things, you know, that you are aware politically, because our people are not educated politically, including myself. I'm learning a lot, and I have learned a lot about politics, but there's still a lot that I don't know. And I think there's a lot of information that we all need to know so that we can make the best decisions together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
to have progress happen in Newark, and not, we don't want Newark to be like Harlem, right? We don't want
Yeah.
Newark to be totally gentrified. We understand that we do.
Exactly. Yeah. You
Yeah,
know.
we understand that we need development here. We get that, right? We need jobs here, but we also need people who care. We need housing for people. We just can't put them out of the projects, knock
That's
down
right.
all the projects, and we don't have something to sustain those families. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
At an
exactly.
affordable cost, because
Yeah,
sometimes they say affordable, but people can't afford it.
yeah. I
So
think that,
give us.
yeah, you know, I just feel like, us as a people that care about the people, we have to think on a level of just try to build as we go along. The issue with, Newark, as far as the poor people, they live in areas where there's no industry. You know what I'm saying? When I was living in Newark at the time, when this was back in the 90s, I couldn't find a job that paid me enough to hold down my rent. I had to work up in Parsippany. I had to take a bus that went all the way up there. You know, I think that a lot of people are put in positions where they have to do things they don't want to do in order to survive. And sometimes that includes criminal activity. We know there's an issue if somebody's working a 9 to 5 and then they got to do something on the side, like a side hustle, to be able to pay bills or they're able to hold down rent. As far as housing placement, they knocking down a lot of these areas. I remember when they flushed out Carmel Towers some years ago. You know, a lot of people was complaining that they got vouchers, but it wasn't enough for them to get another apartment or affordable housing. So that put them in positions where, what I'm saying, they're going to have to find somewhere to live. Sometimes it's outside of Newark. I feel that people should be put in a position where they have that choice if they want to stay in Newark or leave Newark, not be put in a financial position where they have to leave Newark because now all this inflation and then they raising the rent or they're knocking down affordable housing. They're putting up luxury apartments and nobody can afford to live there. Okay,
Right.
they doing the same thing in East Orange. It seems like even the surrounding cities around North, they're gentrifying. So you don't have no place to stay in Essex County.
Right.
You know,
Right.
pushing
And
them out of Essex County. Period. That seems like that's the plan. When you
that's very
overlook, you know what I'm saying? When you look at the whole layout on what they're doing, with knocking down these old areas or they're renovating these buildings and then turning them into luxury apartments. Like I said, you know what I'm saying? What class of people are you doing this for? Who are you revitalizing the city for? You know what I'm saying? It's not for the lower class. It's not for the people that's on a certain budget that don't, that puts them in the lower class. You know what I'm saying? It's not for them.
and how dare any council person, mayor, or anything else for the money that they're getting. These are six-figure people who
That's
say, well,
right.
I want to deal with a citizen who doesn't agree with me. I'm going to block them. It's ridiculous. Listen, we're going to bring this show to an end because it's
Okay.
almost time. Ra, I'm really going to ask you if you could join us on the show again. Again,
Sure.
you are a true wealth of knowledge. I want you to come on
Thank
and
you.
share with the people. W.A.G.E, to
Okay.
everybody who joined me, thank you for our listening audience. W.A.G.E is an organization that started when advocating for gender equality. And basically what it is, it's not a feminist show. It's not a feminist organization, but it is something that, we have one woman on our council and 80% of the women are voters here, make up the voting base. A lot of the young men that are shooting and get shot in the street, a lot of these mothers are single parent households, and I think that their voice needs to be heard. I think that their
That's right.
concerns need to be shared on a level that they're not getting blocked. I think that there's a lot of needs that women have, even for reentry. I talk about this a lot. Men are organized around reentry in Newark, but women are not right now, and they have a whole different group of issues. So we just try to tune in, bring our men on board to help us figure this thing out and navigate the process so everybody can live and be as happy as possible. And again, with the core mindset of progress and moving
That's right.
forward. Thank you so much for coming on. And
Thank
we
you. I
want to
appreciate from being on here. Thank you very much, sister.
And thank you again for everybody who joined W.A.G.E this evening. Good night.
Good night.